Wondering whether or not the Pinners Conference and Expo is really worth attending, who it's actually for, and what the heck goes on there? Well, I went this past weekend to the San Diego one, and I am going to share with you all of the details. Hi everyone, I'm Lisa from Pretty Fabulous, and I help online businesses create beautiful digital downloads using Adobe InDesign. So if this sounds like you or something you might be interested in, make sure to hit the subscribe button below. I post new videos every Monday and Thursday, and I do unboxings on Saturday. Today we're talking about the Pinners Conference and Expo, and first let's just talk about what is it. It is 2 days. It is held at a large convention center. So here in San Diego, it was at the Mar Fairgrounds, and it took up two of the buildings there, and it was a pretty big space. Mostly, I would say 90% of it is for the expo, which is surrounded around the classrooms. As you can see, the classrooms were simply just cordoned off areas that were open. So in theory, even if you had not paid for a class, it would be impossible to really block people out from the class, because the classes, at least in San Diego, were not held in a separate room. They were held in an open space. And so you could actually just walk by and see the whole class as well. Now, a lot of those classes, especially I shouldn't say a lot, but some of them require tools, like they had an entire area set up with sewing machines, or maybe you needed to purchase a calligraphy kit beforehand. So in those cases, it's probably not going to be very useful to just stand and watch the classroom versus taking it, which brings up another point, which is how much was it? So the Pinners Conference was $8 here in San Diego for general admission, and that got you in for both days, and you received a wristband. And that wristband, though, if you had purchased it the day before, would have provided free parking for you. But ironically, I think in order to pick up the wristband, you had to pay just to park at the facility to get the wristband. So don't get too excited about going there beforehand. Parking for us, I believe, was at $7 or $8. And then they have little shuttles that will take you from the parking lot to the actual expo. And because the expo was at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, which is used to holding, I believe, the county fairs, it was set up with a lot of county fair food. So like lemon shake-ups and funnel cakes and gyros and fries and stuff like that in case you get hungry. Now, who was this conference for? This was definitely for people who love DIY, who love putting together their own jewelry, who want to learn how to hand letter, do watercolor, who want to sew things. So in general, if you like all of the DIY crafts on Pinterest, you are going to enjoy the sessions that are there. Now, they do try to offer vendors, I believe, that are tangentially related, but in the expo, there were a ton of vendors that were all over the place. So some of them had clothing, some of them sold stitch kits, and some of them sold jewelry, which is exactly what I expected to see at the expo. There were also wigs, people with hair products, beauty products, but there were a couple ones where you were kind of like, I don't understand why you're here. There was someone selling smart locks for your home, or I guess there were just people that were thinking, I guess it's a captive audience of women that are homeowners, and I think maybe they will purchase this. I think there was an insurance salesman there as well. But regardless, the majority of the other vendors there were great. There were a lot of, there weren't a lot of paper, stationery, ink type of vendors like I was hoping for. But obviously that's me, and I'm very biased in what I'm looking for. I probably could have gone to a paper conference if I really needed that. But there weren't a lot. In fact, I think I saw one stand that had any journals or sketchbooks or anything, or pens or things like that. There was, I think, just two others that had stamps and stickers and washi tape and items that you would actually put inside of a planner. Now, this conference it started on the first day at 10 a.m. and I believe it went till 6 p.m. and they have classes all throughout the day. And so there's I'm not sure how long each class was, but there was a 90-minute gap between one class and then when the second set of classes and the third set. And they all ran consecutively so that if you had to pick a class within that session, there was no kind of overlap or changeover. So you'd have to pick, one session here and then miss a couple, if that makes any sense. But the Expo pass that I mentioned that was $8 does not include classes. So if you want to attend a class, you need to buy a what's called class, like a one-day Expo pass. It was a little confusing because the passes for the day either included sets of 2 classes or all classes, or what they called VIP. And VIP, you were also able to access the recordings of the courses later, and that was $129. Now, when they said that there were swag and prizes the night before, we did not go to the night before show. So when we got there, we saw a table, and that was the first day. Probably we got there at 11:30, and they had these bags out for everyone to grab, and they had a table where they had planners from Passion Planner. So these were dated planners, and obviously January, February, and March have already passed. But you know, it was nice that they were giving these out for free. They were just on the table. I was a little confused when I came in because there was no sign, but they were definitely free. And we walked the expo maybe 5 minutes, and then we thought, hey, maybe we should get a second planner for a friend. We came back and they were gone. So, you know, if you see stuff on the table right when you walk in, for sure it's free, and for sure it will be gone in literally 5 minutes. As were the bags, those were gone as well too. Now, the bags were empty. There was no sort of swag bag, I guess, for the event. In fact, I think if you had come there too late, and don't quote me on this, maybe they put more bags out after we left, you would not have gotten a bag, so you'd have to hope that the vendors had bags if you purchased something. Now, I actually didn't find a lot of things I wanted to purchase, again, because I was mostly looking for paper and ink for calligraphy, and I just didn't find that. Now, do I think it's worth it? I think it's worth going to if there are classes specifically you want to attend that you can't get somewhere else, because that class is only 60 minutes or less, so you can't really teach a whole lot. And it was pretty loud because the way it was set up in San Diego is, again, like I said, the classroom is in the middle. You have people talking to vendors all around where you are trying to take a course, so it is kind of noisy. And in my opinion, you know, if there is something that you are really interested in that you couldn't find somewhere else, or you were able to use, say, a sewing machine you were thinking about purchasing and they had them right there on site, that would be a really good reason to take the course. Again, the courses really, or I shouldn't say courses, the classes weren't really that expensive, so I think it was a really great deal overall. So just be prepared though, because it is $8, which I totally understand. There weren't swag bags. It sounds like Passion Planner just happened to be giving out this planner, but otherwise there weren't a lot of freebies, if you know what I mean. In terms of networking, there weren't any specific networking events. I suppose you could have chatted with people while you were walking around, but everyone was kind of into their own thing, and a lot of people came with friends, and I'm pretty introverted and shy, even though I don't seem like it, and so I didn't really meet anybody new. However, maybe in a class you might have met somebody. All right, comment below and let me know what you think of the Pinners Conference, and if you've gone to one before or if you're thinking about going to one. All right, I will see you guys next week. Bye.